Okay, so you just heard on my last podcast all about my fabulous wedding, even on my budget. And next I'm going to share with you my honeymoon highlights. So thanks for joining. This is Dating with Katy. And even though I'm not dating anymore, I know you are, and I know what it's like because I dated for over 10 years and I've found an amazing man. And ladies, I'm going to say this, there are some great men out there. Well, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you send this to a friend to be encouraged. Make sure you take little tidbits of if you're going to be hitting Italy anytime soon or on your honeymoon, then DM me, email me, and I will give you all my best places. Also, check out my Instagram. I'm going to be sharing on there as well. Get in my network, go ahead and click the work with me button, and we can see matchmaking, date coaching, what is going to be needed so that you can get confident, be successful, and have some fun dating. And don't forget to check out my programs, guys. 14 Days to Dating Success, Confidence 101, 7 Steps to Sexy, easy, fun, and you know me, practical. Well, let's get into a little bit of romance about my honeymoon. Now, I'm not going to be sharing any of the juicy details. Those are mine to keep, but you are going to be hearing about how and why we picked what we did. Let's rewind a little bit. So I get married, we're staying at the Montage in Laguna Beach, and then on that Sunday after the wedding, it was Father's Day, so we celebrated my new husband, and his kids were there, my kids were there, and then his kids had to go home, and he actually stayed one more night. So he and I had kind of a night together with no kids because finally we got to be together. If you heard in the past, like he and I were waiting for 6 months not to have sex. So, we did good. But technically my youngest son was out visiting me for 2 weeks and I don't get to see him often. And so just out of respect to our time, my younger son decided, he'd hang out here and I was going to hang out with just him. And then my new husband is going to head back to his house in Texas. Now, we've been long distance dating for a long time. I have a podcast on that and how to do it right. And so believe it or not, we get married and he heads back to Texas so that I can hang out with my youngest son for a couple weeks. Now, my daughter heads off to Europe. My son goes to his internship. So my youngest and I had 2 weeks to just hang out and just have fun. Well, he ends up going to New York for a big summer camp. And now it's time for my honeymoon. So I pop over to Texas. We have a party at the Cowboys Club with all of our Texas friends. And then believe it or not, I got truly married on a Tuesday night in Texas. I think it was July 8th. Because our Montage wedding was just kind of our party. We pretended to do the ceremony. We didn't do the technical ceremony only because we wanted to technically get married in Texas. And I forget the other reason. I don't know. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. We just wanted the party and we wanted all the perks. But we got married on that day in Texas with 2 other fantastic friends who were also in our California wedding. We went to a steak dinner that night. And then the next morning, we literally left for our honeymoon. And in between that time, we went to Cabo for a little relaxing moment, which I do have to say this because I'm always on a budget and always looking at the numbers, even though he's not as worried about them. I found us an all-inclusive place in Cabo. Now, in the photos, it looked amazing. It looked like this massive pool. Well, let me just tell you, with massive pools come massive people. And if they don't have photos of those people in the pictures, it's for a reason. So this all-inclusive was terrible. And by the time we laid out on the first day, we realized there's no way we can stay here. This is not what we are accustomed to, nor what we want to spend our money on and enjoy for our relaxing part of our mini honeymoon. And so because it was all-inclusive, we decided that night to eat at every restaurant at the all-inclusive. So we actually went from restaurant to restaurant trying every food dish that we wanted to get our money's worth. Just to keep the night fun as well. And then the next day we transferred and we went to the Thompson, which I love that hotel. It's fantastic. We ate a couple great dinners out and we just sat by a pool and did nothing, which was great, especially after my shotgun wedding and all the planning I did and preparing. So that was relaxing. Then we come back, we get married. Then we go to our true honeymoon, which we'd already talked about doing. And it's this thing called the Redentory. It takes place every year in Venice. I had planned in 2020 to take my children, and it is a fireworks show over the Venice waters and, above the canals. And it's spectacular. I have to tell you, it was absolutely phenomenal. I'd go back again just to watch it. They have 3 barges. They're simultaneously putting off fireworks. It was beautiful. But a girlfriend had mentioned that the day before was also Bastille Day. So we thought, well, let's pop into Paris, which is always romantic. And we were there for Bastille Day. All the streets were shut down. All the stores were closed. So that was kind of an interesting experience. They had parades. And then we went on a boat tour, one of those covered boats with all glass, so we could watch the fireworks. Well, there's a couple of negatives with that. Negative number one is that the heat wave was just beginning to start. And if you heard about it, it was wicked hot in Europe this summer. So the glass boat, the spot that our table was at was directly in the sun for hours and hours, and the AC was not cooling the area off. So literally there was 4 other couples, which 3 happened to be Americans. We were all dripping, sweating, going down your back. We're trying to sit there. It's not enjoyable. We're all getting up, going to the back section, which is the smoking section, so we get some fresh air. Everybody else is seated in the covered, like the shaded area, and they're all eating their dinner, and the rest of us are just boiling hot. So that was not a good start to that meal, which I can look back and laugh now, but it's frustrating when you come all this way. But even throughout that night, the gentleman next to me was going to get engaged. So I said, of course, I'm going to help. I took all their pictures. It was very cute. And even after she said yes, he stands up and he says, she said we. So it was very cute. And then we watched the fireworks from outside because underneath the glass, you couldn't really see it. So that was not the best location. But, you know, my husband tried. He thought it'd be a good spot. So A for effort on that. After that, the next morning, we flew to Venice. We watched the fireworks show there from the St. Regis. It was spectacular. We had a beautiful suite at the St. Regis. As you guys know, I'm a big proponent of the Marriott Visa card, Marriott credit card. We use our points. We get those upgrades so we can afford these fantastic rooms. And then we also stayed at, there's another Marriott resort there, also on the water right down from that. And we also went to dinner at the Daniele. So we hit all 3 hot spots in Venice. And Venice was great. It was starting to get hot. I love taking the boats around. You always think of James Bond when you think of Venice. And then after Venice, we took a train to Florence. Now, by the time we got to Florence, it was wicked hot. And so no one's ever happy in heat like that. And we stayed at the St. Regis, fabulous hotel. So we literally go out for 2 hours, come back to cool off. Go out, come back. Florence wasn't my favorite, but we rented a car and went through Tuscany, and I loved it. We booked a cute little spa, like a winery that had a pool for a day just to cool off. Absolutely loved. We hiked through there. We drove our car through there. It was just beautiful, rolling hills, spectacular. It beats Napa and Sonoma any day. So I would love to go back to Tuscany. As a matter of fact, we also met up with my buddy who runs beautiful Tuscan tours in that area. And he is Jason. You guys will see him on my Instagram. He is always doing that kind of stuff. So I would happily go back to 10 days in Tuscany with Jason. So with that, then afterwards, we went to Lucca, which is a great little walled town. They have a huge music show every year. We were there for that. Nobody we wanted to see. But if you were into music, that'd be a very cool spot to go see a concert. After that, we decided to pop over to the food cities, so Bologna, Parma, and Modena. In Bologna, we had a bolognese. We actually had it at Italy, which I will be working with in the Dallas area. Italy is a great restaurant. There's quite a few all over the world. If you like Italian anything, pop over to Italy. The best cacio e pepe I've ever had. And after a month in Italy, I've had quite a few. So we went to Bologna, Parma, which is where Parmesan cheese comes from. We took a Parmesan cheese tour, and we went to Modena, tasted balsamic vinegars that were 100 years old. Spectacular. I mean, what a difference quality and time makes on a simple product like that. We also stopped by a Ferrari museum, and as a surprise, I got my man a ride in a Ferrari. Well, he got to drive it. So, and he has a nice car. He's got a great BMW. He's driven nice cars, but and this was like a top of the line Ferrari, not the California or the I forget what they call it, but not the smaller Ferraris. But this was a big Ferrari, so he got to drive that. He loved it. Said it was one of his highlights. And then we popped over to Como. Now we stayed in Como City, so we didn't get to stay in any of the areas, Bellagio, Menaggio. But I want to go back to Como. So romantic. And some of these little stops were just taster stops. Like, would we ever come back here? I would absolutely go back to Como. I'd get a car because we did take the ferry. Worst experience ever. Do not ever take the ferry. It took 3 hours just to get to the city we needed to get to, which was basically too much of our day. So we didn't get to stay in the cities as long as I'd like. But I would rent a car next time, drive around Como and stop. And then I'd also go over to Lake Garda, I think it is. So that's just an insider tip. From there, we decided to jump on a train, a beautiful train, and jump into Switzerland. Now, this is part of the original itinerary I had with my kids back in 2020. We're starting in Zurich, and then we're going to Venice. But Switzerland is not cheap. I can tell you that. I was shocked by the pricing on everything, the food pricing. We were going to go to Thai food one night, and it was a nicer Thai restaurant. We'd read about it in Yelp. Literally one bowl of some curry dish, right? It was like 50 euros or 50 Swiss francs, and which was like around 50 US. And there was no way that I'm spending $50 on a bowl of curry. It just can't be that great. So we decided to skip that. We looked for a pizza place. We must have been missing Italian food. And we had the best pizza of our entire trip in Switzerland at a great pizza shop. And if you know anything about pizza, and my husband and I took a pizza class in Florence because we got a pizza oven for a wedding gift. It's about the flour that you use. So I think it's like the 00 flour is kind of the best flour to use. But at this pizza place in Switzerland, they said it's not. And the one that they use is the best, but they wouldn't give it away. So if anybody knows, give me pizza details, please. And in Switzerland, I made him do this wicked hike all uphill the whole way, 5,000 feet uphill. Come on, babes, even though we haven't been working out for weeks and just enjoying and eating and drinking. And it was getting colder as we went up, and there was cows with cowbells. I mean, it was beautiful, but we couldn't quite make it, so we jumped on the trolley tram and went halfway up. But I still want to hike that whole mountain, I got to be honest. So from Switzerland, we had some fondue as well. Fondue is a very heavy meal, I can say that. We flew back down to Rome, still very hot. So Switzerland was a nice break from the heat. Rome, if you've been, is a busy city. I will say the history is phenomenal. We did a Segway tour. It was super fun. Great way to see the city when it's really hot. Great way to kind of get your basis too, so you're not spending all the time walking. But we, went through the ruins, went through the capital area, then we went down towards the Colosseum. It was phenomenal. So that was so fun. I found a lot of great restaurants. I mean, you can walk down any streets, any alleys, and you see outdoor eating with the lights and multiple restaurants. I mean, it's Trastevere during summer is so cute along the waterway. So much to see and do in Rome, but we were happy to get out. So he actually left in Rome, and then my kids came in. And during this time, one of his sons had come in too. So we kind of did like a little family vacation. And then my kids came in and he went back to work. And if you guys saw that my kids were there, we did Rome as well. And then we headed out of town and we hit Amalfi Coast and had a phenomenal time as a family. And some people would ask, well, Katy, why aren't you blending the two families? At this stage in life, it's very interesting. We all have adult children. The youngest is 17. Living abroad. And you have your mix. Like my kids and I get each other. We can bark and snap at each other and no one's like offended and no one thinks it's weird. And we can encourage each other. We pray together as a family. So incorporating his kids with my kids is still kind of maybe more for dinners or maybe a holiday, but maybe not for vacations yet. And you could say, well, why didn't you have him stay there? Well, I love my husband, but again, it brings a different mix. I actually feel pulled. Like, is he okay? Are they okay? Like, who should I hang out with? Who should I walk with? Like, I still am just not comfortable in that position. So it's no skin off anyone's back as long as everyone's happy with it. And he was fine with going home. My kids love just their time with me. And it just really works out for our best. Of course, every couple is different. You guys should do what you think is right. But for our honeymoon, it was fantastic. I wasn't taking on any new clients. I did work with one of my clients throughout that season, still putting him on dates. I have a great team at Cinqe Matchmaking who makes sure if I'm not there, everything is still covered. And then the beauty of it is when I got home, we're going to be having one more wedding party, which will be an Italian theme. We're having a pizza oven and a guy come make pizza so everybody can meet my husband. We are, I'm just so excited to be back. and back at the computer and back making matches, back hearing your stories. And I'm really excited because during the time that I was gone, I wasn't on my computer. I wasn't really posting much, but I was taking a lot of polls and asking some questions of you guys. So I'm going to be doing on the next couple podcasts, the ones from summer, things like moving in together. How does that look? When do you think you should do that? Who should pay for what? And whose house do you move into? Because I will be moving into a new house with my husband. Behind me, everything is getting packed up. So that's really exciting. But how should that look? Like, what's a good way to do it, Katy? And then also depression and dating. So I'm going to be doing a podcast on that. But a lot of the other things that I addressed during summer, I will be bringing up. So I'm so excited to get started again. And don't forget, I want you to get confident, be successful, and have some fun dating. All right, until next time.